This is Jonathan at Try Backyard Farming. So this is one of my main vegetable beds, and it's right by the back door, right? And I've been overseas, so I actually didn't put a garden in this year. So when I came back in the summer, weeds in here were 12 feet high. I just cut them down and threw them in the compost bin. But then I came through and weeded this area, and the way I weed is with one glove and one kind of old school carving knife that I got at a garage sale, and I just go in. The glove is because sometimes you get thistle and sharp stuff, but I go through and I just cut these weeds off rapidly, very rapidly, because I want to leave the roots in there to decompose. And then I'll throw the weeds out in the sun for a couple days. This was yesterday, so leave them out for, I don't know, another day maybe. And then I'm gonna throw them right back in there as mulch. Now the interesting thing that I wanted to show is that I didn't plant a garden. But these things you see right here, they're all tomatoes. They seed themselves every year. A lot of times I have tomatoes here. Now you should kind of rotate tomatoes every once in a while. So what I could do is I could pop these guys out and put them anywhere else on my property that I wanted to. In that not weeded raised bed, for example, or many of the other raised beds and hugelkultur mounds I have around the property. And then you might say, well, if you cut the weeds off, won't they grow back? Well, they will, but they'll be a lot easier to pull out because all this dead weed stuff turns to mulch. This is all gonna be mulch. It's gonna be real easy to pull the weeds out. And I'm gonna have, if I were to plant a garden this year, I would pop so many different vegetables into this small area that there really wouldn't be much of a place for the weeds to grow. But one of the kind of tips is that whether it be lettuce, tomatoes, any kind of vegetable, don't pick them all. Let some just fall to the ground and replant themselves. For example, this lettuce, which I haven't even harvested, and it's kind of getting too big now, it just popped up there by itself, grew itself. These little lettuces around here, once again, I've been gone for 9 months. I was in a different country, and these just regrow, and the soil is still good, and so that's a way that you can get a lot of things to just come up on their own. Another example with the strawberry patch here. I didn't think I had any strawberries because it was so full of weeds. But I went through and I pulled out a giant pile of weeds. Just put them in the yard here, let them die, and then I threw them right back in as mulch. It looks like this is hay, but it's not. This is just the old weeds. And I'll keep doing that. For example, that's a weed. So I'll just get I don't even need the glove, but I'll just grab this weed and I'm gonna slice it right there. And I could just drop it, but I like to let it sit out here on the lawn for a couple days to die. And then I'll throw it right back in. Or if you don't want to do that, pull the weeds out and then fill this whole area in with your finished compost from the other weeds that you pulled out and threw in the compost bin. And so that's another way to do it. But weeds are good, and that's kind of one thing to remember. Use your weeds to your advantage.